I'm living proof that more time spent on the couch equals more success. And this has been happening for decades. And I'm here to tell you how to do that. I'd rather see you do this. To me, there are two types of hunters in this world. There are those that put an awful lot of time in hunting. They go from state to state. They're getting very little sleep. They're putting a lot of time on stand. And they're hunting, I would say, I've known people that the first 45 days of Michigan's bow season, meaning October 1st and November 15th, they're hunting 40 plus days. They're finding success because they're out in the woods all the time. And they're not necessarily finding success in a target buck because they're burning those out. They're just hunting so much and traveling to here and there and different places to hunt, they eventually almost luck into one. And someone will say, well, they're a really good hunter. They're really good at being patient, putting lots of time in, taking lots of time off work, traveling, not getting much sleep, getting by on not much food, getting wore out. And that if that makes you a good hunter, then they're a good hunter and they shoot some deer. I know people that have done that where they'll travel from Iowa to Illinois to Kansas to Missouri, all these giant big buck states. They hunt public land here, borrowed private land here, knocking on doors. They spent so many hours hunting, not necessarily target bucks. They're putting themselves in good positions and they're just hunting so much. They're falling asleep on the stand. They're falling asleep when they drive in the car. They're sleeping in rest stops. They're shooting big bucks. That's one type of hunter. Do you want to be that hunter? Not saying that's a bad thing. There's another type of hunter. You spend your time intelligently. You hunt with precision. You're smart about your hunting. And when that happens, you're not anything remotely like that first hunter. You're going in like a tactician. This is SEAL team going in to take out an individual as opposed to an entire brigade, an entire company, a Marines, whatever it might be, going in as a 1,000-man assault as opposed to a 6-man assault. There's a lot of difference between the two. A lot of resources spent here to get the same job done in a way, and then a lot fewer resources here. Very smart, intelligent, tactician. I'm not saying the Marines are not smart. Don't get me wrong. I love all branches of the service. The point is that there's different ways to accomplish the same task. And when you're using that very, very high level of strategy to hunt, then you'll find yourself sitting on the couch a lot more. And when you do that, there's a lot of benefits to that. And by sitting on the couch more and learning how to hunt smartly, then you actually see your deer numbers go up for the amount of sits that you have, and that opens up a huge world of opportunity. I would say by doing that, for one, you're maximizing your time off. What that means is you're not taking your time in a 2-week period and just hitting the road and hitting the stand and never missing an hour of daylight out in the woods to hunt deer. In that case, you take those 2 weeks, and there's going to be, out of 14 days, let's just say it's 14 days, there's going to be 5 or 6 days that are pretty bad hunting days. There's going to be 5 or 6 days that are in between, and there's going to be a few days that are really good days to hunt. You might burn out your stands and your opportunities on the bad days before the good days even come. It might be that you get the good days right off the bat and you shoot a buck right in the beginning and you're done. But it's really risky and you're leaving it up to the whims of the weather when you do that. The whims of opportunity, the whims of your neighbors, the whims of the location. By taking your time and looking at it, I want to hunt these weather days. Again, I talk about it all the time. Consistent days here, weather drops, temperature drops, wind speed drops. Doesn't mean that the wind speeds are done. I actually like when there's a little bit of moderate wind. But when all this is going down, when it starts to level out, I kill my deer right there. That's when I kill the majority of my deer. It doesn't matter what time of the year it is, what time of the hunting season. I find on those days you have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times a higher chance of shooting a mature buck, especially a target buck, than those days that are bad days. This isn't like Any amount of bad days could ever equal just a handful of those good days. You look at a 45-day window, you pick out the great days to hunt, there might be 8 or 9 days, 10 days, maybe 11 at the most. There's probably, out of those 45 days, there's about 30 that are bad. You can't hunt 30 days of those bad days to make up 2 or 3 of those really good days. So when you're maximizing your time off, you're looking at, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're looking at over a long period of time, and you're saying that I want to hunt here, 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 and I want to use my time wisely, my time off wisely. And this is why I started hunting this way back in the early 90s, because I didn't have a lot of time off for work. I worked at the bank to give me 2 weeks off. The one thing they did let me do is take a half day off at a time. And you can imagine during hunting season, I took a half day here, a half day there, rarely even a day off, because I'd extend and hunt a morning and then get into work. Bank was open 7 to 7. So I could get in, work 3 o'clock in the afternoon, still put my 4 hours in. I found that was the best way to maximize my time because I didn't have a lot of time off. So when I did go hunting, I didn't want to take a lot of days off and have a whole bunch of bad weather days and a bad condition days, bad time of the year, and burn my days off. So I found the more I put a priority of hunting strategically and having a purpose when I went out, knowing that the deer are feeding on acorns here, so I want to go take a couple hits at that. Knowing that this cold front will increase the movement here. Knowing that this is the pre-rut, I need to hit those pre-rut bedding area morning stands. Just like a tactician, you're looking at it like, when is the best period to hunt during this 4 or 5 days a week, and I go out and sit. Might only be an afternoon, might even be a morning. I had a friend of mine that would get frustrated with me. I've told this story before, but he wanted to come down and hunt long weekends. I wanted to come down and hunt a Wednesday evening and a Thursday because that was the best weather during that 10-day period, and the weekend was bad. I didn't want to hunt then. I didn't want to waste my time. I didn't care if I got a Saturday and a Sunday off, and that gave me an extra 2 days to hunt. I didn't really care if it was bad. I'd rather hunt the good 1 day during the week than the bad 3 days on the weekend. And that paid off handsomely throughout the decades. Burn-proof your stands. This is a big part of it. You're not going into your stands and saying more time is better. More time's better when you are unemployed, when you have nothing else to do but sit in your stand over and over again. More time is better when you're traveling from state to state and you're just hunting any old buck. You just want to be in the stand, put your time in, because it's less of a tactician, it's less strategy. You're just time in equals time, good hunting. There's some very successful hunters that have done really well by just methodically being in funnels and good properties in good states over and over and over again. And if they burn out a stand, they just go to the next stand or wait for the next buck to go by. There's not a lot of strategy other than just doggedly going in there over and over and over again and sitting. It's that shotgun approach. Most of us don't have that time, we don't have that energy, and there's a smarter way to hunt. So when you do that, you don't burn out your stands. So this stand is good for this week with these winds, under these conditions, this morning hunt during the pre-rut or peak rut, but it's not good in early October and mid-October. But then this stand is a good feeding front stand in middle of October. So I'm hunting on an oak flat with a cold front, and those deer are swarming into those acorns. But then those acorns are gone the next week or 2 weeks later or 3 weeks. You're not sitting there again. The problem is if you go into that stand too early, any one of those, and you just hit it over and over and over again, those deer never show up. So then you're not shooting deer even though you're spending every day off the couch in the stand. Instead, you wait for the best time. You go in, and it's amazing how on that first sit, you end up shooting a deer because you're not burning out your stand. You're not burning out your land. You're learning why each area. And this is where I'm not a big fan of saddle hunting on private land when you have preset locations, because I'd rather have ladder stands, hang-on stands that are dead quiet. I go in, climb up a stand, I'm ready to hunt. We go to lands that people spend several $100,000 on, a lot of resources spent, acres of food plots and water holes and everything else, and then they're using saddles. And they spend all this money. And Dylan and I were talking earlier, sometimes it's almost like a status thing. Like they want to be able to show it on social media. It's catchy. I love saddles for hanging hunts, public land. There's a purpose. There's a purpose for all of these tools. We have different locations we use ladder stands than hang-on stands. I've used climbers in the past. We'll probably use some saddles when we go out and hunt public land in Pennsylvania. Perfect application. But the bottom line is something that you're mobile with. you're out on public land, that allows you to say, this oak flat, I'm going to go in there and do a hang and hunt with a saddle. And then down in this hemlock bottom, when deer are going in there to bad weather, heavy rain, snow, and you're going and setting up down there. Maybe on this cruising bench and funnel area that goes across the saddle on a ridge where the deer are only there during the rut. They are all of a sudden some scrapes open up, some ruts and some rubs. You go sit there. So you're not burning out one stand. You can be mobile going back and forth. On private land, you just have all that set up ahead of time. But it allows you to take advantage of each one of those locations and move and skip around. Then you don't burn out your stand. You use them at the right time of the year, right time of the day. But you also don't burn out your family. So you're not going 3 weeks and hitting it hard. You're not a star on the outdoor channel. You don't need to hunt 13 weeks in a row. I know people, and Dylan knows people too, where they're saying goodbye to their family almost for 13 weeks. Dylan, what's the longest you've been in with away from home? Let's say in November and December, would you say it's fair? Or October, November? You look at a 60-day period. What's the longest out of those 60 days that you think you've been in a 60-day period, any time that falls in there?
I've definitely done some like 9-day, leave Friday night and then come back that following Sunday night.
Yeah.
So, that's 9 days of hunting, or 8.5 days of hunting.
And I can remember some times where you weren't home a lot during a 60-day period.
Yeah, I mean,
but that was back in the,
I would say 4 or 5 years ago, out of that 60-day period, basically October 15th to, let's say, December 15th, I was maybe home for 15 days.
Yeah. Yeah, and that, that was great for that time.
Loved it.
Yeah. Well, it was great for that time period of your life. Mm-hmm. And then you can't do that. It doesn't sustain itself.
It's just not realistic. Yeah.
No, but there's still people that are doing it in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah, good. I don't want it. It's hard especially if you have young kids, you have a wife, you want to spend time with her. It's kind of like, priorities change. But the bottom line is, if you're just hitting it hard, you burn out your stands. And I've seen people that burn out themselves from hunting, that really just don't enjoy hunting because they hit it so hard over and over again. And all of a sudden they're in their 50s and 60s, and I'll talk to them. I haven't seen them for a while. I shot a lot of archery back in the day. We did bow hunter broadhead leagues in the 80s, 90s. And I'll see some of those people that were hardcore hunters, and I haven't hunted for 20 years. It's almost like they hit it so hard, they got involved in it so much, they burned out everything, and now they don't even hunt. And that can happen too. But when you burn out your family, you burn out your boss, you burn out your friends, all of a sudden you're looking at it and trying to consume and be that hunting lifestyle and hit it so hard that not only do you burn out your stands, your family, your boss, maybe even your friends sometimes, but you don't shoot a lot of deer because everything's burned out. Nothing's good. Whereas if you take your time and you're more of a tactician, you get to spread your time more evenly throughout the season. You get to experience the entire season, and for that, you're more successful. You allow your stands to age. If you're not burning out your stands and hitting them all the time, do you know this is a concept that I believe is very true. Even when we go out to public land in Pennsylvania, and Dylan kind of knows the spots. He's been there. Jen was there with me last year with Dylan. I'm thinking of both Jen's spot and mine. If no one's hunting there all year, and then all of a sudden we show up in those spots, they haven't been pressured, they haven't been sat in, to me they're heated up because everyone's hunting by the road, everyone's by the campgrounds, everyone's by the trail where everyone walks in, and we're hunting out in the middle of nowhere. And even on public land like that, where you're not actively managing stand locations, those areas heat up because other areas get burned out, and you can count on your neighbors burning out their land and stands. And that's why private land is so tough, because you burn out one food plot on a small parcel and your property's done. You burn out one bedding area, one stand, you're done in a 200 yard in any direction area. So you allow your stands to age. And what I mean by that is every day, that concept that's so important is every day you don't hunt that stand, that you're waiting for the best time to hunt, like our pre-rut stands, our peak rut stands, our morning stands that we use for the rut, our late season food source stands, maybe an acorn flat stand. We were down at a guide in Kentucky, down at Whitetail Project Outfitters. You check them out on Instagram. It's an incredible place to hunt. Jen and I went down there for our honeymoon. We wanted a relaxing place to go. We have all this private land that we can hunt in Wisconsin and Minnesota. And if we wanted to relax, we don't hunt here. And I'm not saying we don't enjoy it here, but we have to decide every day. We have to make a decision. of how we're going to hunt, where we're going to hunt, how that affects tomorrow, the weekend, the following week. It's something we put a lot of strategy into and a lot of thought, and we have to go out of our way to make sure that we conserve our stands all year long. But we go down to a guide like that, we can just sit and relax. It's a vacation. Same with hunting public land. We spook something out, we just go over here. We go on to public land to relax. I talk about that all the time. So when you don't hunt your stands, to me, they improve every day that you allow them to age until the perfect time to sit. Then when you go in, you expect to shoot something. You promote smart hunting. When you learn to look at your stand selections and when you hunt as a very big strategy and put a lot of thought into it, then you can't help but hunt smart. You're not doing this because you're just beating the daylight oil and you're putting on miles, you're putting on hours, you're sitting dark to dark over and over and over again. You're switching property, switching states, going from public land to private land, back and forth. You're not being successful because you're being dogged about it. You're being successful because you're being smart. And that means more time on the couch equals more deer. Allows you to play the game of strategy. I talk about all-weather whitetail books, and I have an all-weather whitetail book. I talk about how to hunt the weather that came out in 2018. I have several books out. They're on our website, whitetailhabitatsolutions.com. But bottom line is, and I have several web classes out, same thing, how to hunt hills and thermals, and how to play the rut, and how to design your property. I have all this strategy because I believe in it, and it's been a help to me for many years. And in that 2018 book, I have a chapter in there that talks about playing poker in the deer woods. And you're playing poker in the deer woods, meaning that you're hunting like a tactician. You're putting the odds in your favor every time you go out in the woods. And when you don't hunt that way, when you're just putting more time in and when you're off the couch more, you're not putting the odds in your favor. You're just going out, you're winning a hand because you played 50. You played 100 hands, so you win one. Instead of knowing when to fold, knowing when to hold, knowing when to be all in, and winning 1 out of 5 hands, or 4, or 3, because you're playing smart. There's a big difference. Allows you to hunt more states. So if you're being smart, you can look at it like, well, I'm in southeast Minnesota and southwest Wisconsin. That's where I hunt up here. And I look at southeast Ohio, some public land I like to hunt down there. Well, their rut's about 7 to 10 days past ours, behind ours. You go down into Kentucky, West Virginia, same thing. If I was hunting Kansas, they might even be 10 days to 2 weeks behind us. So now you can hunt and follow the rut, and then I can follow the cold fronts within those ruts. I'm not burning out stands in certain states. I'm following the rut, maximizing the weather opportunities in each period of time within each state, and it allows you to be successful without sitting very many times. And you find the more that you hunt smart, and the more time you spend on the couch, the more bucks and mature bucks and target bucks you shoot for the fewer amount of sits. So you shoot 1 buck for every 6 sits, 1 buck for every 5 or 7 sits instead of 1 buck for every 50 sits. Big difference. And when you're hunting and you're hunting smart and you're shooting a buck about every 6-7 sits, that means that you can skip around and hunt other locations. We like living where we do because we're right next to Wisconsin. We're right next to Iowa. Maybe we'll hunt that someday. But bottom line is we can skip around. We can actually hunt more states, have more tags, fill more buck tags because we're hunting smart and we're maximizing our time when we do get off the couch, and we're spending a lot more time on the couch planning and preparing and hunting smart with a lot of strategy. And that equals a lot more deer by just sitting and enjoying the entire process of the game. What you find is if you need to get your outdoor fix, we're going to Wisconsin, we're going to Canada fishing this weekend. We do that. We spend time outdoors, go grouse hunting. You know, go for a walk in the woods, sit outside in the woods. Go sit in a standoff on the edge of your property where it's not going to spook anything and just take a nap. The bottom line is, by hunting less, it equals more. Practice that, and you'll be a smart and better hunter this year and beyond. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. You're our best followers. You followed all the way to the end of the video. Really invite you to check out our website. We have our earthway spreaders for sale, great Christmas presents. We're booking clients right now, all 5 of us. So by the end of December, it seems early, but by the end of December, our schedule will be booked for 2025. It's hard to believe. I'm already booked for December and most of January, February. We have our web classes, the Rut web class, how to design your whitetail property, and really important, hunting hills and thermals, understanding the wind. Those are great products on our site, all the books. Thank you so much for watching all the videos, buying the seed that you did this year. Really appreciate you.